On a bitterly cold evening in the heart of the city, when the wind howled like a sorrowful chorus and neon lights flickered uncertainly in the rain, a solitary figure moved along the pavement. Michael, once known by another name and another life, now found himself on the fringes of society. His life had dwindled to the margins, where forgotten dreams mingled with the discarded remnants of a bustling metropolis. With each step, memories of better times flickered briefly in his eyes, but the present was a relentless struggle against hunger, loneliness, and the indifferent hum of urban life. As he shuffled through darkened alleys, his threadbare coat barely shielding him from the icy assault of winter, Michael's thoughts were interrupted by a soft murmur of compassion. Across the busy street stood a young woman, her eyes warm and inviting despite the chill that clung to the night air. Her name was Sarah, a spirited soul with an unwavering belief in the power of kindness. Clutched tightly in her hand was a small envelope, a simple gift that, unbeknownst to Michael, would become the catalyst for his transformation. Their eyes met briefly. In that fleeting moment, Sarah's gaze held a gentle plea, a silent request to acknowledge the humanity hidden beneath Michael's tattered exterior. With a deliberate step, she crossed the street and approached him, her footsteps echoing as if marking the beginning of a new chapter. "Hello," she said softly, extending the envelope. "I know it's not much, but I hope it can help you tonight." The sincerity in her voice resonated deep within Michael, stirring a glimmer of hope that had long been dormant. At first, Michael hesitated, pride and despair warring in his chest. Yet, the earnest expression on Sarah's face softened his resistance. Accepting the gift was not merely an act of charity. It was a subtle reminder that he was still worthy of care and respect. With trembling fingers, he accepted the envelope. The weight of the small gesture was immeasurable. It carried with it the promise of dignity and the faint, shimmering light of possibility. In that moment, as the two strangers exchanged a quiet, heartfelt smile, the world around them seemed to pause. The chaotic pulse of the city softened, and for a brief instant, all that mattered was the connection between them. The simple act of giving and receiving had transcended the barriers of poverty and despair, weaving an invisible thread of hope that defied the harshness of their surroundings. As the minutes stretched into an eternity, the scene took on a dreamlike quality, a pause in the relentless march of time. And if you've been following along for just a couple of minutes, take a moment now to subscribe, like, and share this journey with others. Every small gesture, every kind word, can ripple outwards, transforming lives in ways you might never imagine. Michael unfolded the envelope carefully, revealing a small, handwritten note accompanied by a modest sum of money. The note, penned in Sarah's delicate script, read, "May this gift remind you that you are not forgotten, that every new day holds a chance to begin again." Her words ignited a spark in Michael's weary heart. The money, though insufficient to erase the scars of his past, offered a temporary reprieve, a lifeline thrown across the chasm of his despair. That night, as Michael found refuge under a sagging overhang of a closed storefront, the note and the money became his talisman. In the solitude of his temporary shelter, he pondered the implications of Sarah's kindness. Could it be that a single, selfless act had the power to redirect the course of one's destiny? The idea seemed both fragile and profound, like a delicate bloom in the midst of a harsh winter. Haunted by the ghost of missed opportunities and shattered dreams, Michael made a silent vow to himself. This gift, trivial though it might appear to an unobservant passerby, was a beacon, a reminder that even in the darkest nights, hope could emerge from the most unlikely sources. With renewed determination, he resolved to seek a path out of the shadows that had defined his existence for so long. His steps, though uncertain, began to carry a new rhythm, a cadence that whispered of change and the possibility of redemption. As the night deepened and the city around him continued its ceaseless rhythm, Michael's mind was awash with the possibilities that lay ahead. Sarah's gift was more than just a small sum of money. It was an invitation to reclaim his dignity, to rebuild the parts of himself that had been eroded by neglect and hardship. And so, beneath the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, Michael allowed himself to dream once more. A dream that was fragile yet fiercely alive, ready to transform his fate. In the quiet hours following that fateful night, Michael awoke with a newfound determination pulsing through his veins. The city, still cloaked in the remnants of darkness, now held the promise of a dawn that might see him reclaim the life he once knew. With Sarah's gift and the echo of her kind words still resonating in his heart, Michael resolved to transform his life. The icy grip of despair began to thaw, replaced by the tentative warmth of hope. First, the road was fraught with obstacles. Michael navigated the city streets, seeking refuge not just from the biting cold but from the overwhelming weight of his past failures. He approached community centers and local shelters, places where whispers of assistance mingled with the stories of others who had once felt abandoned by the world. In these spaces, Michael found fragments of encouragement and an ember of possibility. Every kind gesture, every shared smile, reminded him that change was not only possible, it was inevitable if one dared to believe. One day, while resting on a park bench beneath the sparse light of autumn's diminishing foliage, Michael encountered Mr. Andrews, a retired businessman with a gentle smile and an unwavering belief in second chances. Sensing the quiet desperation in Michael's eyes, Mr. Andrews struck up a conversation. With a calm demeanor, he listened as Michael recounted his hardships, the cold nights spent in silence, and the small, miraculous gift that had ignited a spark within him. Mr. Andrews saw beyond the ragged exterior and recognized the untapped potential hidden within. "Everyone deserves a fresh start," he said quietly. "Let me help you find one." Under Mr. Andrews' mentorship, Michael began to explore opportunities he had long thought beyond his reach. The seasoned businessman introduced him to community job programs and local workshops where practical skills were taught. Michael's first step was enrolling in a basic computer literacy course, a skill that had eluded him in the past but now held the promise of unlocking a future filled with possibility. The lessons were challenging at first, each keystroke a small victory against the clamor of self-doubt. But as weeks turned into months, the once hesitant learner transformed into a confident user, his eyes alight with the excitement of discovery. During one particularly brisk afternoon in the center of town, as Michael practiced his newfound skills at a public library computer, he couldn't help but reflect on the remarkable journey he had embarked upon. It was in that moment, with the hum of technology and the quiet murmurs of fellow learners around him, that Michael truly began to believe in his capacity for change. Each error he corrected, each problem he solved, was a brick laid on the foundation of his new life. His past, filled with shadows and sorrow, started to recede behind the light of a more promising future. As Michael's competence grew, so did his ambition. He sought employment opportunities that aligned with his emerging skills, and soon found a part-time position at a local community center. The job, though modest, was a lifeline, a tangible way to contribute, to feel the satisfaction of earning his keep, and to prove to himself that he was capable of more than just surviving. With every task he completed, from organizing supplies to assisting others with similar struggles, Michael felt the weight of isolation lift, replaced by a growing sense of belonging. He was no longer defined solely by his hardships. He was evolving into someone with value and purpose. Amid this transformative period, Michael's internal monologue echoed Sarah's earlier words, "Every new day holds a chance to begin again." The phrase became his mantra, a constant reminder that even the smallest gesture could have monumental repercussions. As his confidence soared, he began to seek out avenues for personal growth. Mr. Andrews encouraged him to attend local networking events where stories of resilience were shared and celebrated. At these gatherings, Michael encountered individuals who had faced their own demons, emerging victorious against all odds. Their journeys served as both a mirror and a guide, reflecting back to him the possibility of redemption. Yet, the path to recovery was not without moments of lingering doubt. On cold nights, when the city's indifferent darkness crept back into his thoughts, Michael would revisit the memory of that initial encounter with Sarah. Her compassionate eyes, the tender way she offered him hope through that simple gift. It was a reminder that every day was a chance to transform his destiny. It was also a call to remember that kindness, once given, multiplies and returns in ways one can scarcely imagine. As the months wore on, Michael's transformation became evident not only to him but to everyone who crossed his path. The man who had once drifted unseen in the shadows was now an emblem of resilience, a living testament to the power of a single act of kindness. With every step forward, he not only rebuilt his own life but began to inspire those around him to believe in the possibility of change. In the midst of his progress, Michael's journey resonated deeply with those who encountered his story. His evolution was a vivid reminder that the smallest gifts, a note, a sum of money, a simple smile, could ignite a fire of hope that burns brightly even in the darkest of times. As his story spread quietly through community whispers and shared moments of connection, Michael found solace in knowing that his life was no longer defined by the hardships of the past, but by the promise of a future filled with hope. Michael's journey, marked by small yet seismic steps of transformation, now reached its crescendo as the seasons shifted from the cold sting of winter to the gentle warmth of spring. The city, once a backdrop to his despair, had become a living tapestry woven with stories of hope, perseverance, and the quiet power of redemption. With every passing day, Michael blossomed further, a living testament to the possibility of change when one embraces kindness and dares to believe in a brighter future. Under the guidance of Mr. Andrews and the enduring inspiration of Sarah's compassionate gift, Michael's world expanded beyond the narrow confines of survival. His newfound skills and persistent efforts had led him to a steady job at the community center, where he dedicated himself to helping others who found themselves lost in life's labyrinth. His days were filled with small victories, organizing local events, mentoring newcomers, and sharing his story with anyone willing to listen. Each interaction reminded him that his journey was not merely about reclaiming dignity for himself, but about igniting hope in others who had forgotten that they, too, could rise again. One particularly luminous afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the leaves of an ancient oak in the park, Michael was approached by a young man whose eyes shimmered with both gratitude and lingering uncertainty. The young man, Daniel, confessed that he had been at a low point, struggling with joblessness and feeling trapped in a cycle of despair. Michael saw in him a mirror of his former self, and without hesitation, he sat down beside Daniel. With gentle assurance, Michael recounted the story of a simple gift that had once lifted him from the depths of homelessness. He spoke of the transformative moment when a stranger's compassion lit a spark that ultimately led him to rebuild his life brick by brick. Daniel listened intently, his expression shifting from skepticism to wonder. In Michael's narrative lay the quiet promise that even the smallest act of kindness could birth a revolution of hope. With every word Michael spoke, he felt as though he was passing on a torch, a beacon that would guide another lost soul out of darkness. That afternoon in the park, as Michael and Daniel parted ways, a subtle yet profound change took place. Daniel's eyes held a glimmer of resolve, and Michael knew that his journey had come full circle. His own redemption had become a bridge, connecting him with others in need of a lifeline. Yet, life's tapestry was never without its challenges. Even as Michael found solace in his work and in the hearts he touched, the shadows of his past occasionally crept back, whispering doubts and fears. Late one night, while walking home under a canopy of starlit skies, Michael paused at the edge of a quiet river. The water, mirroring the luminescence of the moon, reminded him of the constant flow of life, ever-changing, sometimes turbulent, yet always moving forward. He allowed himself a moment of reflection, pondering the delicate interplay between fate and free will. It was in this silent communion with the night that Michael fully embraced the moral of his journey, that every act of kindness, however small, is a catalyst for change, and that redemption is often born from the simplest gestures. In that reflective solitude, Michael made a promise to himself to continue being a source of light for others, to share his story with honesty, and to remind everyone that hope can be found even in the darkest corners. His heart swelled with gratitude for every twist of fate that had led him to this point, and he knew that his mission was far from over. Michael's transformation was a reminder that no matter how deep the wounds of the past, there is always a path to healing, as long as one dares to take the first step. As the river flowed steadily onward, Michael's thoughts turned to the legacy he wished to leave behind. A legacy of compassion, perseverance, and the profound impact of a single, thoughtful gesture. His journey had become a living parable, one that illustrated how small gifts could create ripples of hope across an entire community. Each day, as he continued his work at the community center and connected with individuals like Daniel, Michael carried within him the spirit of that long-ago night when a simple gift had rekindled his soul. And so, dear viewers, as this chapter of Michael's journey comes to a close, remember that your smallest acts of kindness can set in motion a chain reaction of hope and transformation. If you found inspiration in Michael's story, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with those who might need a spark of hope today. Your support not only helps spread this message, but also reminds us all that every new day holds the promise of a fresh start. In the final moments of our tale, as Michael's footsteps merged with the rhythm of a vibrant, hopeful city, his heart beat with the quiet certainty that life, with all its twists and turns, is a precious gift waiting to be embraced. His redemption was complete not because he had conquered his past, but because he had learned to see the beauty in every moment and the transformative power of a simple, heartfelt gift.